In a small village surrounded by dense forests, there lived a young man named Ryosuke. He had always been a cautious and reserved individual, living a life carefully planned out in an attempt to avoid failure. His family, friends, and even his work had all become a series of checkboxes, things to accomplish to avoid any risk. Despite his outward success, Ryosuke felt trapped by his own fear. Fear of failure, fear of disappointment, and most of all, fear of the unknown. The slightest deviation from his routine would send his mind into a frenzy of worries and doubts. Every step outside of his comfort zone felt like stepping into darkness. It was only when he received an invitation to an old temple deep within the forest that he realized the time had come to face his deepest fears. Ryosuke stood at the edge of the forest, staring at the path that led to the old temple. The invitation had arrived mysteriously, urging him to seek answers to the fears that had been controlling his life. His heart raced as he looked into the dense trees, the path seeming darker with every step he considered taking. "What if something happens to me?" he thought, his mind spiraling into the worst-case scenarios. What if I get lost? What if the temple is abandoned? What if I'm not strong enough to face whatever lies ahead? The familiar weight of fear began to settle in his chest. It was the same feeling he had experienced so many times before, the feeling of being paralyzed by uncertainty. He had spent his entire life avoiding risks, and now, standing at the threshold of something unknown, he felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the decision. Every fiber of his being screamed for him to turn back, but something deep inside pushed him to take the first step forward. As Ryosuke took his first hesitant step into the forest, he felt a sudden shift in the air. The once overwhelming feeling of fear began to lessen, replaced by a strange sense of calm. After a few minutes of walking, he noticed an elderly man sitting quietly on a large stone by the side of the path. His eyes were closed, but his expression was peaceful. Ryosuke, still nervous, approached him. "Excuse me, sir," Ryosuke asked. "I don't know if I should keep going. What if it's too much for me?" The old man opened his eyes slowly and smiled. "The fear you carry is not real," he said calmly. "It is an illusion your mind has created. Fear is only powerful when you give it control. To truly live, you must stop letting fear decide your path." Ryosuke felt his heart race again, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from the recognition that perhaps the old man was right. His fear wasn't real. It was just a story he had been telling himself for years. If you're ready to stop letting fear control your life and start living freely, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more empowering stories. The old man motioned for Ryosuke to sit beside him. "You've already taken the first step by confronting your fear," he said. "But now, I want you to do something. Take a deep breath and close your eyes." Ryosuke hesitated, but followed the old man's instructions. "Imagine that your fear is a dark cloud in your mind hanging over you," the old man continued. "Now, with each breath you take, imagine that cloud dissolving, slowly fading away." Ryosuke did as instructed, breathing deeply and visualizing the dark cloud in his mind. At first, nothing happened, but as he kept focusing on his breath, he began to notice that the heaviness in his chest was easing. The cloud started to dissipate, and in its place, there was a sense of lightness. With every breath, Ryosuke felt his mind clearing. It was as if the more he allowed the fear to fade, the more room there was for peace to enter. The old man spoke again, his voice softer now. "Now, imagine that you are holding a stone. That stone represents everything you fear. Failure, rejection, pain, doubt. Feel its weight. Feel how tightly your hand is gripping it." Ryosuke clenched his fist in his mind's eye, picturing the heavy stone. "Now ask yourself, What happens if you let it go? The old man paused. Try it. Drop the stone. Ryosuke exhaled slowly and visualized opening his hand. The stone fell. No explosion, no disaster, just silence. The weight disappeared. His body relaxed. For the first time in years, he realized something profound. He had the power to release fear, but he had been carrying it because he thought he had to. That stone wasn't glued to his hand. He had simply never tried to open it. As the stone disappeared in his mind, Ryosuke opened his real eyes slowly. The forest around him looked the same, yet something had changed. Inside. He felt lighter, like he had left something behind, something he no longer needed. The old man nodded. "You see," he said gently, "fear only exists when we hold on to it. It feeds on your attention. The more you grip it, the more it controls you. But when you let go, you take that power back." Ryosuke stared at the trees, now seeing them not as shadows, but as living, breathing witnesses. "So, all this time, I was holding the weight," he whispered. The old man smiled. "Not just holding it. You were identifying with it. But you're not your fear, Ryosuke. You're the one who can let it go." And for the first time, Ryosuke didn't just understand the words, he believed them. As they sat in silence, Ryosuke finally asked, "So, if fear isn't real, what have I been fighting all this time?" The old man replied, "An illusion, a shadow of what might go wrong, not what is." Ryosuke nodded slowly, the truth sinking in deeper than words could reach. So it was never about escaping fear. It was about recognizing it for what it truly is. "Exactly," the old man whispered. "You don't have to destroy fear. You just have to stop feeding it." Ryosuke closed his eyes again, this time not to escape, but to reflect. In that moment, he realized how much of his life had been ruled by a voice that wasn't even real. A voice that he mistook for logic, for caution, for reality. But it had only ever been fear, whispering in disguise. That day, something shifted permanently. He didn't become fearless, he became conscious. As Ryosuke stood up to leave, he didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Something in him had shifted quietly, like a river that changed its course beneath the surface. The forest no longer felt heavy, and the wind carried no warnings, only peace. The old man remained seated, eyes closed, breathing slowly. "You've seen it now," he said without opening his eyes. "The voice that pretended to protect you was the one holding you prisoner." Ryosuke didn't answer. He just looked up at the sky, where the light broke through the trees like a silent promise. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the need to worry about what came next. He felt present, calm, awake. The fear wasn't gone, but it was exposed, disarmed. And with that, he walked on. But before this story ends, ask yourself this. What if the only thing stopping you is a voice that was never yours to begin with? But before you scroll away, ask yourself this. What if the loudest voice in your head was never telling the truth in the first place?